Donald O'Connor talks about his true feelings about Debbie Reynolds. Donald O'Connor was born Donald David Dixon Reynolds on August 28, 1925 in Chicago, Illinois into a vaudeville family. O'Connor seemed meant to work in show business. His parents were performers who traveled all the time with their act, and young Donald was surrounded by the world of shows from the very beginning of his life. Something sad happened in his child when several of his brothers and sisters died when they were young. But even with personalities, he began to grow strong and have lots of energy that would later become what he was known for on screen. O'Connor's movie career began when he was still a child. At the age of 11, he appeared in his first movie, and through 1,930 seconds and 1,940 seconds, he quickly became known as one of Universal Studios' best and most reliable performers. He made a lasting impression as a young sidekick in films alongside stars like Bing Crosby and Peggy Ryan. During his teenage years, he was often cast in light musicals and comedies where his natural charm and quick-footed dance style amazed audiences. His boyish good looks and easygoing personality helped him change from child actor to leading man in a way that very few others could manage. One of his earliest claims to fame was his role in a series of musical comedies paired with Gloria Ann and Peggy Ryan, where his lively energy and comedic timing helped make him a reliable star in the studio system. However, it was in the 1950s that Donald O'Connor reached the top of his career. His performance in Singing in the Rain, 1952, opposite Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds, remains one of the greatest highlights of Hollywood's golden age of musicals. In this landmark film, O'Connor showed off his amazing physical comedy and dancing skills in the now legendary number Make 'Em Laugh. The routine, which combined slapstick comedy with extraordinary athleticism, took stomach energy that he reportedly had tourist in bed for days afterward to cover. Yet, it became one of the most iconic scenes in movie history, making O'Connor's reputation as a master entertainer. In addition to his musical work, O'Connor showed he could do many things as a straight actor and comedian. He starred in the beloved Francis the Talking Mule film series, where he played the likable soldier Peter Sterling opposite the comically wisecracking mule. Though O'Connor later admitted he had mixed feelings about being connected so strongly with the mule films, they were very popular with audiences and helped make his status as a household name. His ability to shift easily from slapstick comedy to tender music numbers made him stand out among his contemporaries. Beyond film, Donald O'Connor was also a successful presenter on television and stage. He headlined his own variety show, The Donald O'Connor Show, in the 1950s and made countless guest appearances on programs ranging from talk shows to comedy specials. He performed in Las Vegas, Broadway productions, and on international stages, proving that his appeal was not limited to the silver screen. His work won him awards, including a Primetime Emmy Award in 1954 for Best Male Star of a Regular Series. He even hosted the Academy Awards in 1954, further showing his versatility and charisma. Even as the era of classic musicals ended, O'Connor's legacy continued to shine. He earned a new generation of fans with television appearances and occasional film roles, including in Out to Sea, 1997, alongside Lemon and Walter Matthau, showing that his comic timing and likability never faded. His contributions were recognized with numerous Lifetime Achievement Awards, and he was often invited to share his memories of Hollywood's golden age in interviews and retrospectives. As the years went by, O'Connor continued to be celebrated for his remarkably contributions to the arts. He earned numerous awards and honors, including an Emmy Award for hosting the Colgate Comedy Hour, and in 2003, just a year before his passing, he was honored with a Career Achievement Award from the American Film Institute. His later years were marked by reflection and gratitude as he acknowledged the joy he had found in bringing laughter and music into the lives of countless people around the world. Donald O'Connor's personal life was as eventful and layered as his career in entertainment, and much of it centered around his two marriages and the family he built over the years. He was married twice and became the father of 4 children, each of whom represented an important chapter in his journey outside the bright lights of Hollywood. His first marriage took place in 1944 when he was just 18 years old, a time when his career as a performer was still in its early stages, but already showing signs of great promise. He wed Gwendolyn Carter, who was 2 years his senior at age 20. The couple's decision to marry into Tawana. Mexico was like the impulsive and romantic oasis that young couples often make, especially in the high-pressure atmosphere of the entertainment industry. Despite their youth, the marriage was a serious commitment, and soon they welcomed their first child together, a daughter named Donna. For O'Connor, becoming a father at such a young age brought both joy and responsibility, and it added a new dimension to his life that was already filled with the demands of a risen career in show business. However, like many Hollywood marriages of the era, the pressures of constant work, long absences, and the challenges of personal difference eventually led to strain. After a decade together, O'Connor and Carter divorced in 1954, marking the end of his first marriage, but leaving behind the enduring bond of their daughter, Donna. 2 years after his divorce, O'Connor found love again. On October 11, 1956, he married actress Gloria Noble, who would become his lifelong companion and partner. Their marriage proved to be deeply enduring, lasting nearly half a century until O'Connor's passing in 2003. With Gloria, O'Connor expanded his family, and together they raised 3 more children, Alice, Fred, and Kevin. The family eventually settled in Sand Oaks, California, where they built a stable and loving home environment away from the constant spotlight. Unlike his first shorter-lived marriage, O'Connor's union with Gloria was marked by stability, mutual devotion, and remarkable longevity. Lasting 47 years, their marriage endured the ups and downs of his career, his health struggles, and the changing landscape of Hollywood, making it one of the most steadfast relations in the entertainment world. Gloria stood by O'Connor during his successes and his more difficult times, providing him with the kind of grounding and support that many performers struggle to find. When Donald O'Connor reflected on his long career in Hollywood, filled with dazzling performances in films, television, and on stage, one of the names that always came up with warmth and admiration was Debbie Reynolds. They had worked together during one of the golden periods of MGM musicals, and O'Connor never shied away from expressing how deeply he respected and cherished her both as a performer and as a person. In interviews throughout his life, Hefton spoke honestly about Reynolds, offering insights into the qualities that made her stand out in an industry full of talent. His words revealed more than professional admiration. They captured the genuine fondness and friendship that developed between 12 people who shared the stage lights during a legendary era. "She was one of the hardest working women I ever met," O'Connor once said, reflecting on the countless hours Reynolds spent rehearsing and perfecting her craft. At the time of Singing in the Rain, Debbie was still quite young and relatively new to the tough world of big-budget musicals. Yet O'Connor marveled at her perseverance. "She had no dance experience when she started," he explained, "but she worked herself to exhaustion to keep up with Gene and me. I respected her so much for it." Those remarks, delivered with both admiration and empathy, underscored the almost superhuman effort Reynolds put into a film that would go on to become a movie masterpiece. O'Connor recognized that her determination not only earned her a place beside seasoned performers, but also helped edify her as one of the great screen icons of the era. Beyond her professional stamina, O'Connor spoke warmly about Reynolds' personality. "Debbie was just delightful," he recalled with a smile. "She was funny, she was charming, and she could light up a room. People adored her, and I was one of them." His memories painted a picture of a woman who, despite the pressures of Hollywood and the grueling demands of her roles, never lost the spark of humor and warmth that made her beloved by audiences. To O'Connor, she wasn't just a co-star who delivered a performance. She was a friend who brought laughter and friendship to the set, helping to ease the intensity of long filming schedules. O'Connor often pointed out that Reynolds possessed a toughness that deeply impressed him. "She went through so much in her personal life," he once reflected, "and yet she always managed to smile, tolerate, and to move forward. That takes real strength." These comments reflected his recognition of the challenges she faced behind the glamorous Hollywood facade. From demanding studio contracts to personal heartbreaks, O'Connor admired that Reynolds never let her struggles break her spirit. Instead, she channeled her energy into her work and continued to bring joy to audiences worldwide. The affection O'Connor felt for Reynolds was not only professional, but also deeply personal. "Debbie was like family to me," he admitted. "We shared a bond that only people who've been through the trenches of show business can really understand." His words hinted at the unique kinship that forms between co-stars who experience the highs and lows of Hollywood together. To O'Connor, Reynolds was not simply a colleague, but someone who had stood beside him during defining moments of his career, someone whose companionship and dedication had left a lasting impression on his heart. Even in later years, long after the spotlight of classic musicals had dimmed, O'Connor's remarks about Reynolds carried an unmistakable tenderness. "She was one of a kind," he said in one of his final interviews. "There'll never be another Debbie Reynolds." For O'Connor, who hadn't laughed and shared countless hours of work with her, Reynolds represented the best of what Hollywood had to offer: talent mixed with humanity, glamour mixed with grit, and fame anchored by authenticity. His words served not only as a personal testament, but also as a heartfelt tribute to a woman who had become a symbol of resilience and charm in American entertainment. Through Donald O'Connor's reflections, one comes to see Debbie Reynolds, not just as the bright star immortalized on screen, but as the woman she was behind the scenes. Hardworking, resilient, kind, and beloved. His admiration illuminated the essence of their friendship, reminding audiences that behind the sequence and choreographed numbers were real people who cared for one another. In sharing his true feelings, O'Connor left a legacy not only of his own brilliance, but also of the respect and love he felt for one of Hollywood's brightest lights. Donald O'Connor's later years were marked by a number of serious health struggles that reflected both the physical toll of his long and hard career in show business and the inevitable wear of advancing age. In 1990, after decades of performing in physically demanding roles, many of which required him to dance, leap, tumble, and maintain an energy level that few entertainers could sustain, O'Connor underwent a major medical procedure, a quadruple heart bypass surgery. This surgery was not a minor intervention, but a life-saving operation intended to restore proper blood flow to his heart. For someone who had spent much of his professional life celebrated for his boundless vitality and seemingly limitless stamina, the need for such a serious procedure was a sobering reminder of his mortality. The surgery itself was a hard process, one that carried inherent risks, but O'Connor's resilience and determination to keep living for his family and his fans allowed him to pull through and recover. His successful survival of the operation was a testament to his strong willpower, but it also marked the beginning of a more fragile period in his life in which health would become a central and recurring challenge. Nearly a decade later, in January of 1999, O'Connor once again faced a life-threatening medical crisis when he contracted pleural pneumonia, a particularly severe and dangerous form of pneumonia in which infection and inflammation affect the lining of the lungs and chest cavity. For a man in his 70s with a history of heart problems, this illness was extremely dangerous, and there were moments when it seemed he would not survive. The experience was scary not only for O'Connor himself, who had always prided himself on his ability to bounce back from adversity, but also for his family, friends, and admirers who had watched him battle so bravely before. Reports at the time indicated that he nearly died from illness, and his recovery required tremendous medical care, patience, and inner strength. That O'Connor survived this ordeal spoke volumes about his enduring resilience and his refusal to surrender to despair even when faced with daunting odds. His struggle with pneumonia became another chapter in the long saga of his remarkable life. A man who had lived through the rigors of vaudeville, the golden age of Hollywood musicals, and the physical demands of constant performance, now battling illness with the same grit that Hayden's carried him across the screen in unforgettable song and dance numbers. Ultimately, however, Donald O'Connor's health challenges caught up with him. On September 27, 2003, at the age of 78, he passed away from complications of heart failure. The news of his death saddened generations of fans who had grown up watching his dazzling performance in films such as Singing in the Rain, where his unmatched comedic timing and athletic dancing had secured him a permanent place in cinema history. His passing occurred at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital in Woodland Hills, California, a facility dedicated to caring for members of the entertainment industry in their later years. The location of his final days was fitting in a way. It was a place built for those who had dedicated their lives to the craft of performance, a sanctuary where the men and women who had entertained millions could find peace, comfort, and dignity at the end of their journeys. For O'Connor, who had been part of Hollywood since childhood, The motion picture and television country house and hospital symbolized a kind of closing off circle. He had begun as a boy on Turtner in the studios and stages oft 1,930 seconds and finished his remarkable life among the very community that had found his identity.